Alright guys, it is Thursday, September 9th, 2021. Today marks day 11 working on the 4-door 55 project for the 30-day build. So pretty much got about 19 days left. But anyway, yesterday my intro video, for whatever reason, when I uploaded it to the computer or imported it to the computer, it was all shaky, like the gimbal inside the GoPro was stuck or something. I don't know. It was shaky. So I guess I'm going to have to do a couple of intro videos, and then that way, in case it happens again, I'll have a backup one. So kind of sucks. So anyway, I just deleted it because it made you sick. It was like watching the original Blair Witch movie, you know, all shaky and stuff. Anyway, where did I leave off yesterday? Working on the short block of the engine. So I think I'm going to work on some more of that today. I got to clean up all the pistons, take all the rings off, you know, all that kind of crap. Anyway, I packed one of the wheels around yesterday. I was going to put it in my shed to bake them, but my shed is so full, there just really wasn't any room, and I didn't feel like cleaning up the shed yesterday, so I just left them in here. Now today, I might actually pack them out here and put them in the driveway right in the sun, so I might go ahead and do that. Let the sun go ahead and kind of cook them off a little bit. They've set long enough, I think. But anyway, I'm going to work on the short block a little bit today. Try to get the rotating assembly all done in it. And that was a lot of work just getting that thing clean. It kind of sucks. But the intro video, so you missed what I was explaining actually. So if you've been following the build, I've got this other 305 HO here from the white 88 SS Monte Carlo in my backyard that is crashed. That's the engine out of that one. And I'm actually building the one that I got give to me a couple weeks ago by my friend Jason, which is the same guy, by the way, that I got that engine from. But anyway, this engine here is just not as in a good a shape as this one was. I think this was a new replacement crate engine from Chevrolet. It is a 305, but it still had crosshatches in the cylinders. The bottoms of the lifters they still are flat and look new. So I'm just going to put that hydraulic cam back in here. I did number all the lifters, so they'll go back in their holes where they were. But anyway, this just ended up being a nicer engine. It had zero ring gap at the top, absolutely zero, whereas this one out of the one in the backyard, there's just barely anything there. I mean, you can barely, you might be able to see that right there with that light coming through. I mean, it's not really much of anything really, but anyway, that crankshaft out of this engine, this is it. You can see the marks in it. They're not terrible, but I think that crank either needs to be polished or maybe turned. But they're actually worse the further down they get. It's worse at the back. So anyway, this crank would have needed work before, we're using this engine. So that's kind of why I bailed out on this engine. Now the coolant passages on this one are 10 times worse than the one I cleaned. So this one's in pretty bad shape inside. But anyway, the plan for this engine is I will save it for eventually probably the pickup, my 87 square body, because it is a 305. So, and it's pretty much the same engine. But anyway, this one, it just needed more work than this one, so that's why I did this one. This one's a lot better shape after tearing this one down. This is why I decided to go this route. Now, I was going to do a roller camshaft and lifter kit from a friend of mine's throttle body 350 he's got outside, but this one is not drilled and tapped for the tray, which I could have done, but with the lifters and everything being in this engine being all flat and nice, I just decided to go ahead and reuse the hydraulic flat tappet in this engine, and then I'll eventually make it over and get that cam and lifters and all that roller stuff out of that other engine and save it back for this one. So when the truck engine does finally go, because that thing is, it uses a little oil, it smokes when it starts, so it's definitely going to need a freshen up. But the cool thing about it is, if I can get those perimeter bolt early 80s 305 heads, if they're okay when I tear them apart to rebuild them, if they're good, that's the ones I want to use on the 4-door because they're perimeter bolt, because I eventually would like to put some Chevrolet scripted valve covers on it. But the heads that came on this engine, I'm pretty sure are probably still really, really good shape and tight in the valve guides. So I will save those heads for this engine to go in the truck eventually, because it's all center bolt on the truck and it'll just pretty much bolt right on. I would rather have the perimeter bolt stuff for the 55 four-door, because I have, you know, the older intake, which you can slot the intake holes, but you need wedges in there and those center two holes of the intake because they're at a different angle. If you don't use a wedge in there, you only get one side of the head bolt, or the bolt head, basically putting tension on it. So, which I have done before. But anyway, so this is kind of the route I want to go, but it kind of hinges on how good a shape these heads are in. If you're going to do a lap job at home on your valves, with valve grinding compound and then put new valve seals in, if you pull them heads apart and you've got valves that are just sloppy in there, that is not good. That thing will smoke when you start it. It'll use oil, but so it all kind of depends on those heads. So anyway, that's pretty long, little lengthy intro video, but I had to put in what was supposed to be in there yesterday. So anyway, today I'm going to clean up some pistons and rods and see if I can't get the rotating assembly in. If I can get the, I mean, I should be able to, but if I can get the rods and pistons in the engine, I'm going to go ahead and put the cam and the timing chain in it. Go ahead and put the oil pump on it, and then I'll have to clean up the oil pan and all that stuff. But anyway, it's just little bites of the elephant, man. Just a lot to do. So anyway, here we go. Let's get started. All right, guys, so I put most of the pistons in. I only got 2 left, but I thought I would show me putting one in. I don't have one of them cans that has the little thing you pump and it pours it out, so I use a spray paint cap with motor oil in it. I'll put just a little bit there, a little bit down in here. A little bit of oil in the cylinder there. So these pistons have a little notch right there on one side of the piston that goes to the front of the engine. So when you put it in, make sure it goes toward the front of the engine. Also, when you're doing your rings, after you get them on there, they have dots that shows that's the top of the ring. So if you're seeing a dot, like if I push these rings over looking straight down at the top and I see a dot, that's correct. Their dots do not go up underneath. So anyway, everywhere a ring is, where the split is in it, the top oil ring I'm putting on this side, so I will take the other ring and put on the opposite side and then kick this one over back opposite of that one. So then I'll take my really cheesy ring compressor I've had since 1990 something. Alright. Messy job. Doing it redneck style like I do anyway. Take a little assembly lube and put on the bearings. Put a little bit on the smeared around the crank there. Alright, so I got these little rubber cover things here that I've slipped over the studs, or the rod bolts basically, and that's to keep the rod bolt from skinning up the side of the cylinder wall there. So I've got the crank rotated where it's furthest down that way. So Got my notch toward the front. I'll take this dead blow. Try to tap this in. This spring compressor is trying to, it's just not very good, so kind of a pain in the butt. Here we go again. Every time I go to put it in there, it gets bound up. Okay. Now when you put your bearings on here, you'll notice the rod has a little notch, and here it is right here. A little notch right there. There's also one on the rod, and there's one on that bearing too. Those two go together, same side. So don't put that notch opposite of the other one. It has to go in and meet each other. It doesn't go directly on top of it. I mean, it's the ones here offset to this side, and then this one will be offset to that side, but they do go on the same side of the rod. You don't ever want to do anything dry on these things. This is just all the stock hardware. This is just an overhaul. This is not a professional engine rebuild. This is just an overhaul. New rings and bearings and crap. So I got this set at 45 for the rods. I usually go just a little ways on each, and then instead of putting 45 on one side right off the bat, so on the main cap here, I don't know if that's going to show up in the camera, I went in there with a die grinder and I kind of beveled that a little bit, just chamfered the hole there. I always do it, I don't know why, it seems like I read it in a book a long time ago, but I just do it to all the rod caps and then wash everything and then install it. So got one cap left, or one piston left, and I need to take my dog out, so it's been a good couple hours, so I better do that. All right guys, it is the end of day 11. All day long humping out here. That didn't sound right. All right guys, it is the end of day 11. Working on the 55 four-door stuff. I actually worked on just the engine stuff today, but I got quite a bit done. I got all the pistons and rods in. They're all torqued down. I got the timing chain on. I got the cam in it. I put Molly Lube on the cam, but it's all that stuff's installed. I got the oil pump installed and tight. Also got the little oil filter adapter piece bolted in here that your oil filter spins on. I got lots of parts cleaned up. There's tons of parts in that bag that's been cleaned in solvent and ready to go. I got the oil pan kind of cleaned. I mean, it was really nasty. Now I need to finish it off in simple green and a little scrub brush action, but I got all the big stuff off of it basically. The cylinder head, this is one of the perimeter bolts from an early 80s Chevy pickup, 305 58cc head. These things were really rusty and greasy, so I ended up putting them in a tub of muriatic acid and cleaned them up pretty good. The coolant passage cleaned up pretty nice in it, but these need a final cleaning, and simple green as well. But anyway, the valves, when I took this apart, there was not a whole lot of side-to-side movement, which is a good thing. I'm not saying they were super tight. They're just not super sloppy. So I'm happy about that. It'll work. Hopefully the other one's in the same shape, but be my luck, I'll have one that is super jacked. But I got them fairly clean, but they do need a lot more. So I did use a sanding block with some 120 grit on it and run down all the face areas of everything. So I got all the surface areas kind of clean, but I still got to soak it in simple green and then wash it to get all the main crud off there. And then I get to do a lap job on the valves. I'll show you guys how I do that. I use valve grinding compound that's coarse, and then I've switched to fine, and then put new valve seals on, and that's pretty much it. That's my redneck rebuilds. But I think it'll be a great little engine. It's you know, just an overhaul job, but I think it'll end up being a pretty good engine. Anyway, guys, I'm wore out, man. It's time for dinner. Definitely time for a shower. And I need a glass of water. I am pretty thirsty. So anyway, end of day 11. Thanks for watching.